Being a jiu-jitsu black belt, I get asked the question often, what would you do differently as a white belt? Or what would you do differently as a blue belt? Or what would you do differently to make your journey easier? There's a lot of things I would do differently, just to be frank. But if there is one thing that I could pinpoint, it would be this idea of becoming a self-directed learner versus taking more of a guided learning approach or a passive learning approach. Today, I really want to focus on how we can become a more self-directed learner with 5 kind of easy, actionable steps that get you pointed in that direction. Just know this is something that takes time. It's not something you can just do tomorrow, but each of these steps is like a building block to the next one. And if you keep doing it long enough, you still stay consistent with it, then there's a good chance you're going to be in jiu-jitsu for a very long time. If you are new here, thank you for checking out the channel. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for checking out another video. My name is Chasen Hill. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt who's been teaching and training now for over 15 years. I coach and help students from all around the world, both online and in person. I have students located in over 3 different continents now, in over 20 different states here in the United States. One of the main things that I first talk about to them is this idea of taking self-direction. Self-direction is basically being able to determine what one needs for their jiu-jitsu and to make decisions with oneself. Now, this does not mean that you are at the journey alone. You can definitely have mentors and coaches and a very strong supportive system, but essentially there's just someone who is not in front of you telling you this is what you need to focus on, watching over you and babysitting you. The reason why being self-directed is so valuable in jiu-jitsu is because it's a very unique journey. What I mean by unique is that it's very individualistic toward you. In the beginning of your jiu-jitsu career, you learn what most people would call the fundamentals. Now, there's a highly debated topic on what it means to be the fundamentals, but most people would agree, okay, if I'm brand new to jiu-jitsu, I learn the fundamentals. Outside of that, where your game or the areas you emphasize are going to be very different based upon you. If you are someone who values self-defense aspects and doesn't care anything about the sport, well, that's a unique journey versus someone else who cares heavily about the sport and doesn't care anything about self-defense. Those are 2 different journeys. Let's go over the 5 steps for you becoming a self-directed learner. Step 1 is that you have to be able to set clear goals and objectives for yourself. Step 2 is that you have to be able to develop some kind of a training plan or a learning path. Step 3 is that you have to be able to reflect or do some kind of self-assessment on a regular basis. Step 4 is then you have to have a source for feedback and critical analysis. Step 5 is that you have to engage with a community or a training partner who might also go on this journey with you. So let's highlight step 1 here of having clear goals and objectives. Why is that step 1? Because it's the whole enchilada for what we are trying to do with being a self-directed learner. What am I trying to learn? I have to be able to set a goal for what I want to learn, and then I have to set actions. The number 1 mistake I see students make when they do this is they say, I just want to get better at jiu-jitsu. What the hell does that mean? We all want to get better at jiu-jitsu, but what specifically do you want to get better with? A couple weeks ago, I made a video talking about the belt ranking system and how you can use that to kind of gain direction and help you figure out your goals. But you don't have to use that. That's not the only way, but you have to be able to determine a good goal for yourself and a thing that you want to focus on. I tend to say a big goal, and then I want to break it down into smaller chunks. I want to focus on X amount of things for the next year. And then what do I want to focus on each month in order to accomplish that big thing for the year? I might say, I really want to make my guard passing a whole next level. By the end of the year, or over 12 months, I want to make sure my guard passing is good. Maybe this other skill is good, however many you want to pick. And then you can work backwards from there. Okay, what do I need to do to make my guard passing good? I probably need to learn some more guard passes. I probably need to work on my weight distribution, my timing, my pressure, and then you can start to work backwards from there and set the objectives going forward. But you have to have some kind of goal to be a self-directed learner more than just very generic of, I want to get better. Step number 2 is talking about developing a learning plan or a learning path. What that would mean, just to use our example for the guard passing, is what is my steps in order to learn this guard passing more effectively? Am I going to do private lessons with my coach to answer my specific questions? Am I going to buy an instructional? Am I going to drill so much? Am I going to roll so much? Am I going to focus on specific things whenever I'm rolling? What is my way of me actually improving this? How many hours do you need to dedicate towards studying it? There's a lot of decisions that you have to make when it comes to improving a specific skill. Now, the beautiful thing about jiu-jitsu and the internet is that you can pretty much learn any area now online. You don't have to just be restricted to just going to class. Now, step number 3, talking about being able to reflect and do a self-assessment. Having the ability to be able to self-assess yourself and understand what your knowledge is and your weaknesses and your strengths is extremely important. Also, being able to reflect on a regular basis is critical. One thing that I really recommend students do about reflecting is at the end of the night, they write down 2 or 3 big things that they can take away from that night of training. Whenever they do that, that allows them to reflect and capture their thoughts. You're going to have to hold yourself to the highest standard possible when you're a self-directed learner. Step number 4 is then seek external criticism or get some type of feedback. If you've done a good job at selecting goals, if you have a learning plan and you're able to self-assess and reflect on a regular basis, if the plan isn't going according to plan or if it's not working like you want, having somebody who knows what your goals are with you and maybe try to troubleshoot that problem that you need. So you need to be seeking critical feedback and information on a regular basis. The easiest way is to use one of your coaches. It's the same thing I talked about in the belt ranking video about getting direction. Lean on a coach, lean on an assistant who you have a good relationship with. Take their feedback with open arms and curiosity. Worst case, can't hurt, right? Maybe they show you something that actually benefits you. Step 5 is then engage with the community or engage with a training partner on a more regular basis. When you're able to exchange ideas and you're able to talk about certain aspects, you're going to get multiple viewpoints pointed at you. If you're engaging in like a jiu-jitsu forum or you're engaging in a community who's also full of self-directed learners, that would be really great. Now, me personally, I've been in some of the Reddit communities and I've been in some of the Facebook groups, and it's a very up and down vibe. They'll just say, just show up, keep training, shut up, don't worry about that. You're overcomplicating it. And it can be a very dismissive kind of world. And it's not that that advice isn't helpful, but it's like, I'm doing that. What else can I do on top of me just showing up? You need to be able to find a community or a group that can really, really help you in that way that you feel like is going to be positive and supportive and actually help you out. Let's go over very briefly the other aspects for why self-direction is so important. Number 1, in my opinion, it helps you progress faster. When you're able to focus on the things that you like or that you resonate with, it allows you to do what we call order control. Basically, you're allowed to pick very specific things that are going to be best for you, whatever that goal is, whether it's for competition or if it's for self-defense or it's for X, Y, and Z thing. The next big thing is that it allows you to be more flexible with your training. You don't have to just go hard in the paint because everyone else in your school is going hard in the paint. When you have no self-direction, you're tending to just follow the herd of sheep in whatever else is going on, versus when you are more self-directed, everyone else could be going hard in the paint, but you're able to focus on X, Y, and Z over here. You don't have to just go with the masses, even if it's not what's best for you. The next thing is that it allows you to find your personal growth a lot faster. It allows you to fix your gaps and weaknesses and develop your strengths a lot more early on. When you're doing more of a guided practice or you're following a curriculum, you're limited to learning whatever is being presented to you in the moment. And who knows, that might be a great thing for you, or it may be something that does not land for you and it doesn't stick. Whenever you can do more self journey, you are able to find the uniqueness in the areas and develop your game a lot faster. And then one of the last parts is that it increases motivation, which I think is extremely important. And it makes you a lot more persistent, I would say, in your training, which I think go hand in hand. The reason why increased motivation is very important is because that's how you're going to be training for a long time. I don't care about people who've got their black belt in 5 years, 6 years, or 7 years. Those are phenomenal people, but that's not most. Do you know how many people put in that same amount of work and trained as hard as that person and didn't make it to black belt in 5 years? A lot more than did. We tend to highlight the people that are the outliers, and then we try to carbon copy them as that is going to be for your situation. Carbon copy someone who is you. Follow their journey. And I've coached several students to black belt, and most take 9 to 10 years to become a black belt. And that's okay. You don't have to be the standout and all-star, and you can still get a lot of benefit in jiu-jitsu. So over those 10 years or 8 years or however long it takes you to become a black belt, your motivation is going to be very, very up and down. It's like a roller coaster. It's a constant battle. But when you're more self-directed, it makes you more persistent and it keeps that motivation much higher. Now, what are some of the negatives to being self-directed? Because believe it or not, there are a few. Number one, what I normally see students when they are trying to become self-directed is they're afraid to tell their coach. And so therefore they're lacking critical feedback when they try to pick a topic or pick something to really study, and they spend all this time and effort doing so. And then when it fails, they don't have anybody to maybe point out why it failed, or maybe who could have pointed out sooner, hey, I would have recommended this versus that. And having that person on your journey is extremely helpful. The next thing is being overwhelmed. There are so many choices and so many decisions out there that you get what we call paralysis by analysis, meaning that you're just overthinking everything. There's too many choices. So then you just pick nothing and then you just go with the herd. If that tends to be you, well, then being self-directed is going to be very challenging. And then one of the last big negatives to this self-direction is accountability. Because you have to have a lot of strong self-discipline, you're not really creating an accountability source. The one benefit to just following the herd or following whatever your school's doing is it feels like accountability, like, oh, well, everyone else is doing it, so I need to do it as well too, which is a very powerful tool. So when you start to become self-directed, you're going to have to find ways to create accountability and be self-disciplined, whether that's finding a training partner who you can tell who can hold you accountable, or creating some kind of trackable metric that you can refer back to that holds you accountable. But increasing your accountability is going to be essential if you're going to decide to be a self-directed learner. If you are interested in getting help in this is literally what I coach and teach students how to do and help them become self-directed learners. I teach you the systems, I teach you the processes, I teach you how to make smart goals, how to evaluate yourself, how to get this critical feedback, because you have me. I am your coach. I am giving you this critical feedback going together. Now you have to do the work and you have to put in the effort, but it's there and it's ready for you. So if you're needing that help or you're needing that advice, you'd probably be a pretty good candidate for my coaching program where I guide students through this process. So make sure you click the application down below, and that way we can get you set up with a call. So that is going to be it for becoming a self-directed learner. That is 5 really, really key steps that you guys can start to take. We also talked about some pros and cons of becoming a self-directed learner. Now, in my personal opinion, this is something that every jiu-jitsu student has to eventually do at some point in their career, especially if you're someone who's only training a couple days a week. I think it's essential for those people. I think it's less important if you're a person who's training for competition or you're training 6 days a week, because you are there so much that if you just follow the herd, it's going to benefit you no matter what. But if you're a person who can't train like that, you're going to be behind on curriculum. You're going to miss certain aspects. You're going to have to take more initiative and ownership into your journey if you're going to want to do this jiu-jitsu thing. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.